Let's take a look at our example. In the GDI section, you're going to open up the imagery folder and open up that project. I'm showing you how to put together the menu system. Now you can come through and you can put your menu right in by just typing in. It's very easy to do that. You can just put your next items in here. Use the dash if you need a separator. This works normal how you would work if you've worked with Visual Studio or an IDE before. And what you do is you set up the properties here to the right. Change the name to something nice and friendly, like you can see open, it's called menu open, save is called menu save. I have these disabled, so look for the property disabled. It's enabled here. We're going to disable it by turning it false. And then you can set the text right here. You don't have to even do it there. Ampersand will get that underline for you. You can put your submenus by nesting in as much as you want to, no problem. You can delete by just hitting the delete key there, just to clean that up. And you can go to the right here as you need to. You see I have nested here, submenus. No problem. Just give it a name. You can work with checked and radio controls and things like that, radio buttons. The enabled, you can see, is going to turn it gray. So these have enabled properties for these menus that are going to be only available when you actually open a file. You can't save something until you have something open. You can't transform something until you have an image open. This is going to be an image viewer, as you're going to see. But you set things up that way with your properties. Set up your events as well. Your event is very easy. When you click on something, once you name it nicely, just double click on this click. It's going to put this text here for you. You can actually go in there and do it yourself. We've seen events already. And then you can double click to pop right to that code. And I'll explain the code. First things first, continuing with that toggle the enabled, we have a method here that's just going to toggle those that I want to turn on and off when I need to. When I first come in, the enabled property is changed and I pass a false in there and that just turns everything false that needs to. And then I can actually turn that to true and toggle that to true, and that's going to turn them back on, enable them. So that's nice to do that. You can take a peek at that in the code. But if you notice, all these different items here are all added privately, just like you would expect, all from here down. All of these are menu items. Add it as we need to. As you change the names, Visual Studio is going to change them for us. This can get quite bulky for you, but that's pretty much how it's going to be set because Visual Studio is going to control that. And then when we look in the region that we're not supposed to be touching too much, the designer code here in the region and that initialize component, you can see that we instantiate each and every one of them. As you change the name, that's going to be updated for you. And then we have an add range. This is going to add a range that's going to signal with that, be worked with that main menu. It's going to add a range for the file, transform, and help. They're all submenus from that main menu, as you can see. So we add a range there. And then down below, this is automatically done here. This right to left is automatically done as well, set up by the main menu. In particular, when you come down a little bit, not too much, you see that we do the same thing with the file menu. It's enabled based on some resource that's going to specify whether it should be enabled or not. And then you can see that we're adding a range here for an array, a collection of our submenus. Open, save, save as. You can see others aren't named. And this is the separator and exit. These are the names. It's adding it to a collection so it can use that. And this is the first index there, the first one we're working with, the file. And you can see it also has a shortcut. And this is going to allow that submenu to pop up. So we're creating submenus here. Shortcut, and whether or not we want to show the shortcut, you don't touch that. That's going to be updated based on the properties. The text that's there, again, you update these in the properties. I would do that. And you could change this if you want to here, but I would update this in the property too. That menu clicked, the menu file clicked, all the events are going to be there. So for all those submenus, menu open is an index of 0 because it's the top menu. And you're going to do the same thing for each of those. Save, save as. As you move down, the index increases as they move down. And then we go into the transform section and you do the same thing. So you can look at that as you want to. And we can go down to all of these and see that the same thing is going to be set. Well, we don't have to touch this. Once we set up our events, we can just come down and we can take a peek at what we're doing here. We'll take a look at menu exit, for example. We're just going to end this application exit, and whatever functionality you put in there, we're going to actually talk about this in the GDI section. These are each of the events. So this is just how you do it. All the events are going to be set up, no problem. As you name them, you put your code in here specifically that you want to run, and there really is no problem. We'll take a look at that toggle again in the later sections as well. And that's it. Very nice and very easy to set this up. So you set things up the way I did, and then you're really working just with your click events. There are many more advanced features to work with main menus. You can have context menus as well, but this is pretty much the functionality of how to get started and how to understand the code working with events as we have been working as usual.